Charterstone is a game by Stonemaier Games, a game company that I like quite a bit. I stumbled across this digital edition of Charterstone on Steam, and I want to give you a quick glance at it now, here on Legendary Tactics. So this game has a very cute aesthetic in the digital edition. I, to be honest, have not played the board game itself, so this is my first introduction to the game. And so we're going to give this a quick look and give you an idea on how to play it. I've done this the digital tutorial before, and it is one of those digital tutorials that it does okay, I think. It doesn't tie things together particularly well, and if you don't already know the game, but I'll zip through it and kind of fill in the gaps where I can. So the Immortal Forever King has selected 4 citizens of Greengully to start a new village far from the Eternal City. And so we're one of the chosen villagers, and we have to build the best possible city. And so we arrive by Zeppelin. I like the aesthetic of this game. It's kind of a cute steampunk Minecraft, or not Minecraft, kind of like World of Warcraft kind of aesthetic. And anyway, it's kind of neat that way. But anyway, after spending all day flying over the kingdom, the Zeppelin sets down and we start to explore the land. And there's a few crates that are around, and we're apparently forbidden to open any of them. However, that's not going to last long. So we find a large rock called a Charterstone that's interestingly shaped like a 6-sided die, and it's just like the one at the center of the Eternal City. So the first task is to construct a basic resource building in your charter. So your charter is going to be your sort of game board, your player board, and it will be the basic resource of your charter. So we can construct it with, there's 6 available plots on the charter, and the construction is free, but it will cost later. It'll cost resources. So and then as a reward for constructing buildings, you will usually be rewarded with a crate. So, and a crate is kind of a neat mechanic. If you like kind of like opening presents on Christmas Day, it has that kind of feel. So I'm going to build my my brick building here. So there's a few symbols here that we're gonna get to know. All right, so it's going to take a couple minutes to just go over that real quick. So this is kind of an overview of the board. You can see all the different charters, and then the center you've got common buildings. We'll touch on each of these, but if you in general, if you see the up arrow, that means you gain it. So this is a benefit. If you place a worker here, you gain 1 clay. This blue charter has built the metal building. What's this one? A cave. There's the mine, which gets you coal, and the field, which gets you grain. So those are the base. Oh, and there's the pumpkins. I love how pumpkins are a resource here in this world. So the pumpkin farm gets its own thing, and this is in Kevin's charter. So anyway, so that is just a quick overview. Oh, and sorry, the forest as well gives you wood. So all right, so we're going to name the well, NATO's charter is fine. We'll just go with that. All right, so now we've chosen our resource building, and so we need to at least in this tutorial, we're going to be using the Charterstone building to open up the crate that we received for constructing the building. And again, as I said, this is kind of a fun thing. So we roll the die. I'm going to be first player, and so we'll just take a quick look at the descriptions here, okay, of the common buildings. Okay, so these were buildings that were constructed in advance of our arrival, and they're right in the middle of the village in an area called the Commons. And the down red arrow is going to be the cost. The green up arrow is going to be the benefit. Okay, so if we look at the treasury, this one's really straightforward. So the little money bag symbol means any resource. So there are the 6 resources that we went over. So you can trade any one of them for 1 coin. Okay, so that one's a very straightforward one. The market, you can trade 1 coin and a resource of your choice for a card from the advancement mat. We'll touch on that. So throughout the campaign, you're going to unlock various subtypes of advancement cards, and these cards have the little asterisk on them. And after being unlocked, they're shuffled into the advancement deck that is found on the advancement mat, and I'll show that in a sec. Building cards, which these are all good, a good introduction to the symbols here. So building cards have the little house on them. Crates have the little sort of 3-dimensional 6-sided box there. The assistants with a hand shaking, and all advancement cards. And advancement cards that lay on the advancement mat are the ones that can be acquired, for example, via the market. So these are cards you can essentially purchase. You can access that mat from the top panel, and there are icons of currently available types of advancement cards displayed next to the button. So you can see advancement cards held by you and other players in the player cards screen at the top panel. So we're looking up here at the top left. Okay, the Zeppelin is another building. You pay 3 influence, and I'll touch on influence, but basically it's a currency that you can only spend once, so you have to be very judicious with it. Pay 3 influence, pick a building card, and pay the cost shown on the top side of the card. So this is your the activity that's going to build you another building in your charter. And each building is going to cost you basically a bunch of resources. And you construct the chosen building. So the benefit when you construct it is you can see the house with a little hammer in it. So that means you build the building. You also get 5 victory points and advance the progress token on the progress track. The progress track basically is the kind of the timer for the game. And you also, but not always, receive a crate. And as I said, crates are like little Christmas presents. The Charterstone, you pay 2 influence. Again, that's that currency you can't get back. Generally, you can, not in the opening scenario, but it's generally once spent, it's kind of it's hard to get back. So you want to be very careful with it. 4 coins and a crate from your personal supply. You gain 5 victory points and the contents of the crate. And additionally, you push the progress token on the progress track 1 step. The Charterstone building will be very important, especially in Game 1, and it's an important element of the game. And the Grandstand. So this is where you score objectives, and so there's 3 random objectives, and you can see them up at the top left here with the bullseye symbol. And to score an objective, you need to meet the requirements shown on the objective card, and scoring an objective results in a permanent loss of 1 influence for 1 game and grants you 5 victory points. And so there's some times where the influence can be regained, but you can also take a permanent loss where in this case you cannot get it back, even if you somehow manage to scrape together cards and other abilities or whatever to get some influence back. This would be a permanent loss. And additionally, you push the progress token on the progress track 1 step. You can always check those objectives, as it says at the top left here, at least in the digital version. Now, each player starts with 12 influence that you use for scoring objectives, the quota, which I'll show you in a sec, and increasing your reputation, which for some reason is represented by a sailboat, and many other purposes. And as the game progresses, new buildings using the influence will appear in the village. And as it says here, the influence is limited, and if you no longer have any influence, you cannot do any actions that require influence. Also, if you start your turn without any influence, the progress marker automatically advances. It kind of speeds up the end of the game. Now here's the cloud port that I mentioned earlier. So this is called the Quota Action, and it's again permanent loss of influence in its cost. So at the cloud port, you can trade various amounts of goods, so coins, resources, advancement cards for victory points, and in some cases the opportunity to increase your reputation. And each type of trade can only be performed once per game, regardless of which player did it. And so you can see the current state of the quota in the quota link there at the top left. All right. And there's also a help button in the upper left corner, which is a shortcut to the rule book. And if you there's also a hint thing in this little helper in the bottom right to remind you what you're supposed to do. All right, so hopefully you're still with me. I had to zip through that, and I know for me, the first time I saw it, I was really unsure as to how this all ties together, but don't worry, it will. It's actually not that complicated a game. It's something that's fairly straightforward overall. So in your turn, you can place your worker. Now, it's a worker placement game in the very traditional sense. So you place your worker on any building in the village, and you have to pay that cost in order to place the worker there, and then you receive the benefit. And sometimes you get an extra action. And if there's at least one of your workers on the map, you can retrieve workers. So retrieve workers is where you spend a turn basically drawing your workers back into your hand, so to speak. Now, if there's a worker on the building that you place your worker on, it gets bumped and returned to its owner's personal supply. So this is, if you happen to be you played on the Zeppelin, for example, and another player chooses the Zeppelin, then that bumps your worker back into your hand, which is a mechanic I think that's quite useful, especially if you're don't want to waste a turn just retrieving workers. If you can kind of get bumped like that, you can keep playing, which I think is a useful thing. So we're going to choose a worker to place, and really it doesn't matter for the purpose of this tutorial that I'm going through. Now, if you look at my here at the top left, you'll see that I've got 4 coins and not much else. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the Charterstone action just so I can illustrate what happens here, and it's actually really good. You can, if you hover over top with your worker, it kind of shows what you're able to do, and it blocks off the ones that you cannot do quite yet. So we're going to go to the Charterstone here, and we have crate number 4. All right, so we got this crate, and so it's kind of cool. You get to click on it and open it just like Christmas present, and here's all the cool stuff we get. So the brick market. So this is a building that we can build, and that's using the Zeppelin action. You can see I need 2 brick, a pumpkin, and metal in order to build it, and that's going to allow me then, if I place a worker there, it's at the cost of 1 clay. Sorry, I shouldn't say brick, but clay. It's going to give me a coin and a victory point. So that's how you read that. Let's take a look what else we got. The kiln. The kiln costs 2 clay, a grain, and a coal, and it basically costs 1 influence, but I get 2 clay out of it. So to me, that's a little bit expensive. That influence is so precious, but there you are. We also get a persona. And so apparently these are skills that we didn't realize that we knew. This gives us a kind of a unique abilities, and so we can select a persona from the ones that we own during setup, and each persona used is worth 5 to 7 victory points at the end of the campaign, and each persona whose ability you use during the campaign will be marked as such. And if you unlock a persona during a game, it will be inactive. It's treated like other persona cards you have not chosen for that game. So these are things that you start the game with. So if you grab one as we are in the middle of the game, because this is not technically set up, then you don't get to start with that personality, unfortunately. But you do get to keep all persona cards from game to game. So our persona is the Mason. And after using a building with a clay cost, gain a victory point. So that seems to tie in with our charter very, very well. So that's great. And then the other players do their thing, taking some pumpkin, taking some grain, taking some coal. All right, and we're going to let's see here. We'll just take a, we know we've got some buildings to build and so forth. So let's just take some coal here, or sorry, some clay. I mean, and we'll go there. So the turns are very quick. There's really not a lot of downtime. I mean, even though there are a bunch of players, it plays fairly quickly. There's only either you take a resource, you buy a building, and then you move on. So I find that a lot with Stonemaier games. Like Scythe is like that, where each turn individually is actually pretty quick. You're not sitting there for a long time. So anyway, this character got the Hoist house, and you can see very similar to one of our buildings, except this works with coal. The coal market, trading 1 coal for $2. That is good. And the persona is a miner. So that one's not active as of yet. And so now we have 1 clay. And we need to, I think we're just going to, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you how to build a building. So, and then we'll just take a very quick glance here. These are the personas. These are the cards that I have, and you can actually see the crates that they have and the different buildings. If you look very carefully as well, it highlights the resources that are available and the ones that are missing. So we need to get another clay, so that's good to know. And the objective cards, we'll take a quick look. So pay your dues here, pay the influence for a quota action at least 3 times, have at least 3 reputation, and have at least 6 coins. And so once you have gotten to that point, then you can go to the grandstand and claim your victory points. However, we don't have enough resources to build any buildings yet or anything, so let's focus on that. So if you are clicking around and you're not sure where to go, there's this little orange icon. It took me a minute or two to find it last time, in the bottom right, and that's how you can open up your worker space again. So I'm going to bump myself from the clay space, and that gives me a worker back in hand. And so this old dude is going to open up his Christmas present, so to speak. And he's got a granary. So you can see that certainly these opening buildings in this scenario are very straightforward, very similar in many ways. You got the grain market. Now this gives you a coin and a reputation for a grain, so that's interesting. And you've got the farmer persona. So building buildings with a grain cost, you gain a victory point. So that's good. And Christelle is going to take more coal, and because I bumped my own worker there, I'm going to take another turn. So, let's see here. So I want to get a pumpkin and a metal. So I need to go get a pumpkin. So click on that orange thing because my worker thing disappeared. Let's grab a pumpkin. So you can see, obviously, with an AI, it moves along pretty quickly, but you could see how with even with other players, there's not necessarily a ton to think about. And I believe I need a metal, and then I can show you building a building. And I do find that there's a fair amount of turns where you're just kind of, placing to get a resource or something like that, and sort of building towards what you want to do. Everyone kind of like a lot of Euro type games, a lot of times you're more or less playing in your own space, and the fact that you can bump other people's workers, I mean, there's some strategic considerations to that, but it seems like this one plays quite nice with the worker placement mechanic. You're not going to be blocked from taking the action that you want. So in this case, we've got the greenhouse, we've got the pumpkin market, and you can see it's trading for victory points in that case. And so each building is going to give you a slightly different benefit. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I like the mason buildings as much as these other ones. They seem very useful. Okay. Anyway, so we have the building that we can now build the building. So it is going to cost us the resources. Now it has the building card as a cost, but I guess that's more of a board game mechanic than a mechanic in this digital version. So we're going to choose the Zeppelin. It's going to cost us 3 influence. We're going to build the brick market, which is going to give us a coin and a victory point. And we're going to put it in our spot there. We get the victory points. So actually, I'll also take a quick look at the progress track. So you can see this is the progress track. And once we get to the end of it, then basically players finish the current round and then the game ends. So you can track how far along the game is that way. And this is the I meant to go here, the reputation track, and this gives you additional victory points at the end of the game. There's but each increase of reputation costs 1 permanent loss of influence. So you can see with this charter has 1 reputation, which is beating all of us. There's 10 victory points to be had there. So you're going to want to think about reputation as well. And I'll just take a quick look. We've got the main goal, the guidepost, which kind of gives you a good idea of the scenario. And the player with the most victory points wins the game. And you carry the temporary rules. You carry all the components from your personal supply to the next game. And components are cards, coins, resources, and other things you may use. So that's also worth considering. This is actually chapter 1 of the campaign game, is how they set up the tutorial. So but other than that, I think you've basically seen everything that I think you need to see. I mean, the only I guess thing that we didn't really look at, which is straightforward, is the grandstand, where it costs you some reputation and you get to fulfill one of the objectives for the purpose of getting some progress and reputation. So that is the last one. So just to give you a quick idea, I know it's kind of it's already over 20 minutes, but just to give you an idea of how this game plays, I think it's a nice, straightforward, friendly worker placement game. That I think they did a great job with the digital implementation. As I said, I haven't played the analog board game version, but it looks like it's a game with a lot of replayability, and if you like worker placement games, this might be one for you. Thank you so much for watching. This is Legendary Tactics.